going to show how I do my double trim bands. You could use this same method for doing multiple trim bands, 2, 3, however many you want to do. And it's a easy to use technique. And this technique is based off of the same technique I use for doing my single trim bands. There's just a slight variation in it to allow you to carry the thread over further up the blank. So I'll show you how I do these, and hopefully this will help somebody out. I'm just going to get me some of my silver colored trim here. This is a silver metallic thread. I'll stick me some tape here to have it ready. All right. The first thing I'm going to do is tape my trim band to the back side. I'm going to start my trim band somewhere in this area, so I'm going to tape my trim down on this side so I can get it started here. And if you want to see a little more in depth about how I do my single trim bands, I'll put a link up here in the top right hand corner to the video that I did on doing the single trim bands. This is a real similar technique, so you'll probably be able to pick it up off of this video, but if you want to see it just a little more in depth, you can look at that video and that will help you out some. So to start this trim band, I'm just going to start it in this area, and I'm not going to be using a guide here. Ordinarily you'd have a guide over here. I'm not putting the guide on there because it would be in the way, I feel like, on the video, and it might block some of the viewing angle. I think for clarity purposes, it works better without a guide actually being on the rod. I'm just going to get this trim band started right in this area. Cross it over, just as you would starting any other wrap. And I'm going to get however many turns on here I want. This will be my third. I think I'll just do 5. 4. All right. So there's 5 wraps, and I've come back to where I originally crossed over the tag end here. And all I'm going to do from that point is I'm just going to wrap it back over this direction to kind of get it out of my way. Now we'll tape that down right there. Now I'm going to take my main color, which I'm going to use blue here just to mix it up a little bit from the red that I did on the previous video. And I'm going to wrap it around my blank back here in a spiral to get it out of the way and hold that tag in. And what I'm going to do here is just like the other video, I'm going to follow this tag end that's going this direction. I'm going to follow it, and I'm going to cross over the tag end that's going in this direction. So I followed the one that was going this way, and I crossed over the one that's going this way. Now I'll just start my wrap right here for my main color. Get a few turns on that. Okay, now that pretty much locks down my trim band up here. So what I'm going to do now is take the tag for my main color loose and my trim band tags. I'm taking all those loose. So now I've got all my tag ends loose. And what I'm going to do at this point is I'm going to take the thread that was the tag end for the trim band and move it down to where my tag end is for my main color. I get these separated here. So I'm just going to pull that down this way like that. Now I've got the main blue color and my silver tag that was running this direction together. And I've got this tag that was running in this direction. And I'm going to pull it up to where all these other tag ends are. And this is the one I'm going to hang on to. It was the one that was originally running this direction. I'm going to hang on to this tag end and use it to do my second trim band. I'm going to cut the other two tag ends off. This was the tag end of the silver that was running in this direction, and the main thread color, the blue color. I'm going to trim those two tags off. And now you're going to want to go ahead and tighten up your wraps. Now I'll put another turn on this main color here while I tighten all this up. Now on your main color, you just want to continue on and do however many wraps you want between your trim bands. And I'm not counting these. If you wanted it to be exact, you count them. That way you could keep it consistent. This is just for an example here, so I'm just going to put however many I feel looks about right. I'll just stop it right about there. I'm going to go ahead and tighten all this up now. Move these wraps over. Now I've got this tag that's still left from my original wrap. I'm going to just kind of straighten it up underneath the main color to where it's running kind of in a horizontal direction here. And now I'm going to get this tag pulled over to the front, and I'm just going to temporarily tape this down to the front side like that. So what this tag is doing now is kind of holding the main color that I've already wrapped. I'm going to take this main color and just put a couple of turns in a spiral here to get it out of the way and tape it down over here. So now I've got my main color out of the way. I can come back in now with my tag in and take it loose. And wrap over the main color. And I'm going to do 5 wraps on this trim band also. Keep it even. And if they're not real tight, you can move them with your fingernail to tighten them up as you go. Okay, take my tag end of my main color loose over here. Take this tag end from my trim band color. I'm going to tape it down to my blank in this direction. I'll move that back over here in just a minute, but first I've got to unwrap these wraps. And this is where having a jig like mine, the ones that I sell, is real handy, because it's got a tension rod on it where you can back it up several turns without any problem, and you won't lose tension on your thread because that spring tension rod will just raise up as you're backing the rod off a few turns. Okay, now what I want to do is untape my tag end and cross it under my main color, just like that. And I'm going to tape it down on this side now. Okay, so what I did was I untaped my trim band tag from this side, moved it over and crossed it underneath my main color so that as I continue my wrap here on my main color, it will lock that tag into this trim band down. And I'm going to go ahead and start tightening this wrap up, this trim band wrap, by pushing it down this direction where the flare gets wider. That helps tighten everything up as you push it down that direction. And once I get a few wraps over that tag in, that ought to do it. I'm going to take it loose, and I'm just going to straighten this under the wraps to where it's kind of running horizontally under the wraps. Just makes it a little more inconspicuous where you're hiding your tag ends there if they run horizontally, or at least it does to my eyes. Alright, now I can just continue on my wrap, and once I get completely over that tag, I'm going to kind of tighten all this up here a little. And that's it. So all that trim band is done. I got two that are equally laid out as far as your wraps go. I've got 5 on each one, and I didn't count my space in between. If you're building a rod and trying to keep all your guides consistent, you'd want to count how many wraps you put in between the two. That way you could repeat that same pattern. But for demonstration purposes here, I didn't really see that as being necessary. I just tried to make it look decent enough so that it looks good on the video. So that's it. You know, you just continue on your guide, wrapping up your guide foot, and pull your tag in for your main color back under. But that's how you do the multiple trim bands using the same technique that I used on the single trim band video that I showed you. It's a really easy way to do it, and it works really well with metallic threads because you're not doing any pull throughs. So I think it's a good method to use for metallics. You're less likely to damage the foil on your metallics. And it works in double, triple. You could do however many multiple trim bands. You could vary the width on the wraps for the trim bands. You might start with 2 and then double it to 4 and then triple it to 6. You could do something like that so you get a varying width of your trim bands. But that's the basic idea of how you do the multiple trim bands using the same technique that I showed earlier on a video about doing single trim bands. So I hope you liked it. I hope this video will help you out. And if you have any comments about it, I'd like to hear them down in the comments section as well. That's all I've got for now, guys. Y'all take care.